Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL? NFL draft prospects and rookies? Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man Jay Rich.
Count that money, man.
Now wipe the crust out of your eyes, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense and you sound silly as hell. Let's get it. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good people. Y'all in the goddamn building, man. Monday, September 5th. Y'all decided to do wake or tuck y'all asses in with Ray G, and we appreciate you being here, baby. A little different, content schedule, you know what I'm saying? Just got back from Mexico, so I could not leave y'all without a show tonight, so I'm glad y'all are tapped in. I got to be like a little bit quiet, just like I can't be too loud because the kids are trying to sleep right next door, so I got to kind of chill out just a little bit, but we still going to have that same gas in the show, baby. I'm good to see y'all here. My girl, Jasmine. Jazz is in the building. I have not seen Jazz in a long time, but she was the first person that popped up on the screen. Shout out to Jazz. I see Austin in the building. 5-Star Pete. We got a lot of people tapping in for the first time. Matt Bruning's in the building. Look at this. Long-time viewer, first time live. AC, what's going down, baby? AC in the building. What we got? Where the regular wake-up crew at, man? There's Fizzle Dollars in the building. There's Fizzle, DD Dolly in the building. Ty. My man Troy King, Cody Carpentier, good night. What's going down? And yes, I am repping the LSU jersey because Kayshon Boutte is still wide receiver 1. I'm not tripping, baby. I'm not tripping. But Jay Rich, how you doing this evening, baby? Get in here.
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's funny. You got the kids. I can be as loud as I want. Family's still awake. They'll be up till midnight. They're prepping for their vacation. But yeah, people in the chat giving you some flack for that LSU jersey. I know you're still repping Odell. Still repping Kayshon Boutte. It's not an LSU rep, but we're still repping the squad, still repping Boutte. But happy to see everybody here. Obviously, evening show. A lot of people saying first time live. Yeah. You can change that. Just become a morning person, and then you can hang out with us in the morning, talk some football. But Ray, happy you made it safe back from Mexico, and nothing happened while you're on vacation this time, because last time we know what did. So I'm happy to have you back. Happy to be on the show, and I'm excited for football, man. It's almost here.
Yeah, man, it was a nice little vacation, quick little getaway. We were supposed to go to Costa Rica. All that shit fell through, but we got to go to Mexico for a couple of days. Now we back to the grind. Got the Clemson game pulled up. DJU taking sacks still. No. We'll talk about that, though. But, Jay, I don't even want to belabor the point, man. Like, week 1 college football is about to technically be in the books, and I want to talk about risers and fallers, man. Players that came out, did what they were supposed to do, put on a goddamn show, came out of nowhere, put their name on the map, and some players that we thought were going to ball out that just kind of shit the bed, right? And we're looking at this from not a C2C lens, not an NFL team fit lens, but fantasy football. Like, which one of these guys actually stepped up and delivered from a fantasy perspective, man? And on, what was it? When was the last day? On Wednesday. And good job with the show by you, man. I know you.
Thank you. Yeah.
You did the show with Elliot on Friday.
The rest was good.
You did good.
Yeah.
The stream messed up. It's that Canadian internet. I continue to tell you, I don't know what you got to do, but you got to upgrade that at some point. But you did a really good job, man. Elliot was dope. We'll get more people on Fridays with you. You did a really good job. But on Wednesday, I kind of gave the people 8 players to watch out for. Sean Tucker, Anthony Richardson, Jaden Reed, Malik Neighbors, KJ Jefferson, Cam Rising, Jaron Hall, and Kanata Mumfield. And for the most part, we'll talk about Tucker and Richardson in a minute because they were the 2 highest rated players in my database. Jaden Reed looked good, didn't get the ball thrown to him. I think he had 2 for 31. I'm not going to call him a faller. He's just kind of flatline, right? We got to see a little bit more. Malik Neighbors, outside of the 2 muffed punts by him and LSU not showing up versus Florida State until the final couple of drives, he looked good at receiver. Probably you don't want him to be your punt returner. He couldn't do that. No. We'll get into KJ Jefferson in a minute because I think we need to be talking more and more about KJ Jefferson. He had a very good game. Cam Rising, it was an okay game. Took the L versus Anthony Richardson in the swamp, but it was okay. Jaron Hall was okay. Kanata Muntfield played on Thursday, and he was really good. Like, you can just tell he's a fucking good receiver, man. So, for the most part of the 8 kind of watch list players, I'd say like 5 of 8, like, delivered. 5 of 8 delivered. 2 of those 8 absolutely crushed it, and then some other ones we just got to wait and see. But the way I want to do this, Jay, is I want to start just positionally, right? Go through my initial takeaways, my thoughts. You come in. Let's talk about it, right? Let's start with quarterback, man. There were a lot of quarterbacks who were making their debut for their teams, right? Caleb Williams transfers from Oklahoma. Quinn Ewers making his debut for Texas. And I think both of those players did, like, just 2024 eligible for everybody listening. Caleb Williams, 2024 eligible quarterback, USC. Quinn Ewers, 2024 eligible quarterback, Texas. Both of those dudes look really good. Caleb Williams was good last year. We knew he was going to be good again. Efficient. USC just dissected Rice, right? He didn't have to do a ton, but he looked good. Quinn Ewers, I thought he played well versus Louisiana Monroe. We were looking at the schedule, Jay. I did not know that Texas versus Alabama is at 11 a.m. I thought that would be like
noon
the night
Eastern.
game. It's at noon, man. What the hell
the
are
big
they doing?
The big noon SEC battle between Texas and Alabama.
Man.
I don't know if it's a Big 12 scheduling thing that they put games at noon, but yeah, very surprising to see that, because you have to imagine there's a big game in the Big 10 as well as going to be played at noon. So pretty surprising, but I mean, that game, it's still probably my game of the year. Like, it's the game I'm most excited to watch, but we'll see what happens with the score.
It's not game of the year. No, absolutely not. But I'm excited to watch it, though. We're excited to watch it. That is not, DJU looks terrible. We're live streaming this as we go. He does not look good, man.
When do I get to go back to the DJ Pooh narrative? Is he getting there yet, or have got to wait a couple weeks for that?
He's not looking good. But let's get to the 2023 draft eligible quarterbacks, Jay. I want to start with Bryce Young, because a lot of people are not talking about Bryce Young. I think he's been overshadowed a little bit by Anthony Richardson. But Bryce Young, 18 for 28, 195, 6 touchdowns in total, 5 carries, 100 yards. And I get it. They played Utah State. But, I mean, what a way for the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback to just, make his name and make his presence felt early on. Bryce Young commanded the offense. He's got a bunch of new wide receivers. Tyler Harrell did not play for Alabama. He got Treshaun Holden in the mix really early. Jermaine Burton got in the mix to transfer from Georgia. Bryce Young, 18 for 28, 195, 5 TDs. Just prototypical quarterback, man. I think he's just going to be a solid quarterback. He's a little dude. I mean, you see it, man, if you watch the game. But he's been little his whole life. He's going to get the draft capital, and he's going to continue to crush this year. Did you watch any Bryce Young?
Yeah, man, you got to watch Bryce Young. Unfortunately, it did conflict a little bit with the Ohio State game, but we talked about it a little bit via text when you were in Mexico. The biggest takeaway here is that Bryce Young actually ran the ball, right? He had 100 more yards rushing in this game than he had all of last season. So that's a big development for his game. He's a guy that we didn't really think of as a dual threat, but he definitely showed that if he wants to run the ball, he can do that. He led the team in rushing, obviously did rush for a touchdown as well. A lot of big plays from him, 63-yard run. But the biggest thing I think is just how good he really is. We saw it in the Heisman campaign, and it's looking like it's going to continue this season. Now, Ray, I'm sure you saw this. He's the front runner for the Heisman now. And honestly, I don't know what's going to stop him outside of, CJ Stroud, who we'll obviously talk about, really getting it done this season. But Bryce Young, again, Utah State just looked phenomenal. And considering the weapons they lost on offense, really, really good for that team to look so good this season.
Yeah, it was good. They came out, Bryce Young was hitting on all cylinders. Couple of errant throws there, but getting used to a whole new wide receiver core, man. A whole new cast of characters out there for Bama. Bryce Young played really well. And you talked about CJ Stroud. That was one of the big games on Saturday, Notre Dame versus Ohio State. And it was kind of like brutal to watch for a little bit, man. Jackson Smith-Njigba, I think, got hurt the 5th play of the game, or the 5th offensive snap of the game. He goes down. Travion Henderson, they get to halftime. He's got 4 carries, 4 or 5 rush attempts at halftime. I don't know what the hell was going on with Ryan Day in that offense, but Ohio State got it done. CJ Stroud, I tweeted it out. I was like, this is y'all's, the Black Panther, Killmonger, is this your king?
Oh, I wanted to get to that, but yeah, it's true, right?
I put the tweet out there like, this is y'all's QB1. Like, I'm watching him, man. He's good, but I don't see, it's one game, and I've said this going back to last season. CJ Stroud is a very good quarterback, man. We'll see, man. I'm just versus Notre Dame, even with no JSN. Like, I just wanted him to go out there and destroy those dudes, man. Like, I just wanted to see him absolutely dissect that Notre Dame defense. And now, I see some people talking about the Ohio State quarterback narrative. I'm not going that far. I think he's really, really good. I don't see elite difference maker at the NFL level. Like, I don't. There's levels to that shit, man. And when we get to Anthony Richardson, we're going to talk about like just when the X's and O's break down and you've got to make a play. And CJ Stroud has some dimes. Like, don't get it twisted. He is still one of the top quarterbacks in the class. First round pick guarantee. He had a couple of those passes where you're just like, wow, the ball placement, right? 24 for 34, 223, 6.6 an attempt, 2 touchdowns, no picks. They got the job done, man. You lose JSN. I'm sure that altered the offense significantly because they wanted to run through JSN, who I had, an over 8 receptions, and that didn't hit because he got hurt. But what were your thoughts on CJ Stroud, man?
So I don't want to make this case to like confuse people, right? But people need to understand that like he faced 2 high safeties the whole game.
Yep.
So this is the Mahomes treatment that we saw from last season, where it's like you're not throwing deep, and we saw that it took him some time to adjust to that. And Notre Dame really laid out a game plan to beat CJ Stroud and stop him from doing the thing that he does so well, and that's throw the ball deep. And there was in my opinion, not quite a drop touchdown, but a very good ball to Marvin Harrison that he didn't quite come down with in the end zone. And outside of that, it was just tough for them to get the plays that they were so successful at doing last season. Of course, losing Garrett Wilson hurts, losing JSN in the middle of the game hurts, but Emeka Egbuka looked really good out there. And again, it's just about them adjusting to this scheme that they're going to face. And I'm sure they'll see it again throughout the season. So it's how does Ryan Day adjust? Because in this game, they didn't run the ball enough early. And when they finally did with Mayan Williams and Trayvon Henderson, they got it done. But for CJ Stroud backers and supporters, it may not be quite what we're hoping for, because the bombs that he was throwing last season just may not be there if they run too high against him all year long.
Yeah, man. And it's one game, right? But this was a big game. It was Notre Dame versus Ohio State. Like, you just got to evaluate it for what it was. He was solid, man. Solid, but unspectacular. Definitely not the most impressive quarterback performance of the weekend. I just want to put a shout out there for all the bettors out there. Rogers from Mississippi State, Will Rogers, just whatever the line is, just over. I don't care. He's just going to throw for 500 yards a game. It's insane. We're not going to talk about Anthony Richardson yet because we're kind of saving that to the end because I got some takes ready for that one. I want to talk about the everybody keeps calling him the future enterprise car salesman. And I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I'm talking about Stetson Bennett, man. And he's a guy that's not going to be a first-round pick. He's not going to be a day 1 pick. But you already know, bro, he's going to get drafted by a team on day 3 and just be a career, like he's going to have a job in the NFL for 10 years as a career backup because he's smart. He knows where to put the ball. He's too little. He doesn't have the arm strength. But Stetson Bennett went out there. Give him some credit, man. 25 for 31, 368 and 2.
So
bro,
do you think he can be a day 2 pick? Because when you said day 3, I was like, man, I think there's a small chance he could be a day 2 pick. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks get drafted in the 3rd round, and of course they've had some pretty decent tools.
Day 2 pick. No,
but
day
man,
3.
He looked so good, mobile, man. Scrambling ability to make things happen in the pocket while still keeping his eyes downfield. We saw obviously the touchdown that he threw basically across his body to the other side of the field. I mean, he just looks so talented. I don't know if it's just prisoner of the moment. But
nah, man, he's a good.
I think he could be a legitimate Heisman candidate. As crazy as that sounds, I think Georgia can be good enough.
Heisman has nothing to do with NFL future, man. I'm watching the Manti Te'o. Like, I was watching the Manti Te'o documentary on Netflix, and they went to the 2012 Heisman Trophy presentation. There were 3 finalists. It was Johnny Manziel, Manti Te'o, and I had no clue who the other white dude was sitting next to Johnny Manziel. I was like, who the hell is that? Like, and I watched college football, and I'm like, is that Toby Gerhart? No, it's not Toby Gerhart. It's Colin Klein, the quarterback from Kansas State. And I'm like, oh, shit, Colin Klein, right? Yeah, it's Stetson Bennett. If he continues to play like this and he leads Georgia to an undefeated season, he's going to be a Heisman Trophy finalist. Like, it's going to happen. And nobody's saying the dude is some world beater. I'm not talking about drafting him for Devy or drafting him for your fantasy drafts, but he's going to be a 5th, 6th round pick, Colt McCoy-esque, that's just going to have a job in the NFL for 10 years, and then he'll end up being an offensive coordinator and eventually a head coach in the NFL. His Disney movie is going to be fucking phenomenal, man. Walk on to national champ to NFL draft pick, man. Right now, Stetson Bennett or DJU?
In the NFL?
Just
I mean, you
right
got to take
now.
DJU.
I'm not talking about NFL. Right now. Stetson Bennett or DJU? Who do you want leading your team?
I think you got to take Stetson Bennett. He was phenomenal.
It's not a question.
He was phenomenal.
No
he really was. Way better than I thought he'd be. And still, almost 12 yards an attempt from Stetson Bennett, the guy that, dink and dunk, say what you want, but he played phenomenally against Oregon.
Played a good game.
Just so good.
I like this. Austin said Bennett equals A.J. McCarron. Perfect. He'll just be a backup in the league. But I want to give Stetson Bennett a shout out because he operated that offense like at a high level. You want to touch on your boy Bo Nix real quick, or can we move on?
Just move on, man.
How bad is he?
Bo Nix is awful.
Man.
He is awful. Now, we'll see. Maybe he can have a couple good games in the Pac-12, but in the SEC, it is still very, very difficult for him. He just makes terrible decisions. Doesn't see safeties, throw a couple of brutal picks. There's no point of talking to him any further. Bo Nix is trash. Does he even make it to the NFL? I don't know. But
probably. I have more confidence that Stetson Bennett gets picked over Bo Nix, like straight up.
Yeah, 100%.
Way more
100%.
confidence in that. Loose ball, Clemson just picks it up and gets knocked out at the 2. This is a bad game. Will Levis. You look at the box score, 21 for 32, 303, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 7 carries, negative 18 yards for Will Levis. That offensive line is bad for Kentucky.
Yeah.
Their offensive line is BAD, and it's going to be a problem for Kentucky this fall. I was a little underwhelmed by Will Levis, Jay. Somebody that has got all the physical tools, but I'm just talking about versus Miami, Ohio. I'm watching them, and I just walked away kind of like, I see it. I see the talent. I wanted to see more. The same way I said that about CJ Stroud.
You got to be better, yeah.
You got to be better.
Miami, Ohio, you got to be better.
Got to be better. Mm-hmm. He played fine. Evan hit it right here. He played fine, but he didn't play like I'm taking him number 3 overall in the NFL draft. He didn't play like he's a potential top 3 pick in Superflex drafts. He didn't play that well. I walked away thinking, all right, Levis was straight. Like, that was a normal Will Levis game from last year. I didn't see the step forward. And unfortunately for him, he's got to deal with the next guy that we're going to talk about, Anthony Richardson, next weekend, which I believe is, it's must-see TV to see these two athletic freaks go at it. But Anthony Richardson, right? 17-24, 168. You're not going to write home about that. 11 carries, 106 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, even when you look at the line, I mean, look at Bryce Young. I mean, Bryce Young, it's almost identical, right? Like, you look at these two lines, and they're almost the same. But the difference is when you watch that game, man, the energy and the electricity around Anthony Richardson, and you knew when you needed a play, he was just going to make it happen, whether it was with his arm or his legs. Right now, like, how high? How high right now? And yes, we're overreacting. Yes, that's what we do. It's week 1 of college football. How high on Anthony Richardson? Because we talked about this leading. How long have we been talking about Anthony Richardson all summer, telling everybody all summer, Anthony Richardson time. It's time. How high, man? 6'4", 240 pounds, probably runs a low 4.5 40-yard dash. Where you at with A-Rich?
I think he's got to be at least 2. So I was thinking about this a lot, right? I think that if you want to bet on the tools, he's number 1. But I still think maybe, just maybe, I'm just going to bring it back a little bit and say, well, Bryce Young is just like really that dude. Like, he's that dude in college football. We can see what he can be in the NFL. But Ray, I do want to quickly touch on Anthony Richardson himself. 94.8 QBR, didn't take a single sack, obviously had 100 rushing yards, had over 150 passing yards versus Will Levis, who had some decent numbers, but a QBR of under 50. So again, like CJ Stroud didn't have the best game in the world, but a QBR of 89. So these are guys that are all very similar, but what they're telling you is that there's very different statistics going on here and how they're actually performing at the quarterback position. Richardson, in my opinion, could easily be top 3. You could say Stroud over top him if you want, because again, Stroud played Notre Dame. But in my opinion, Utah, similar style defense, very talented. We expected a lot of them this season. So again, with how well he looked, I think you have to give him a lot of credit for how they played. Now to go into Kentucky, it's only going to be easier for him. And I think he could only have a better performance in Kentucky in this next one.
I think Florida's going to beat him. Debro says, will the NFL hate on him the way they did Malik? Or it's not even close, my friend. Debro, it's Liberty.
Doing it in the SEC is just
Florida.
different. It's different.
Liberty.
I tell everybody
Florida.
he is SEC Trey Lance. If you put Trey Lance in the SEC and he looked this good, that's what Anthony Richardson is. So there won't be any competition concern evaluations. He is playing against the best of the best, the fastest players, the best DBs, all these guys, to where you will not be concerned about him playing in the NFL as far as speed is concerned, which is the major concern for a lot of these quarterbacks is how do they react to the speed. Richardson will have none of those problems.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think if anything, they're even more excited because they'll just be like, "Oh man, it's Cam Newton 2.0," and that's what he looked like.
It's less of a projection, right? You're not projecting as far with Richardson as you would be with
what
Lance.
I like the most, everybody's going to look at the highlight runs and the 45-yard touchdown scramble, or the pump fake and throw to the wide open guy in the end zone. But you go back and watch that Florida game. There were multiple times where he stood in the pocket and worked through his reads, right? It wasn't tuck and run, one read and run. Like, he really was trying to show every NFL evaluator that, no, damn it, I am a quarterback. I can deliver from the pocket. And this wasn't against Utah State. This wasn't against Miami of Ohio. This wasn't against, name whatever other top quarterback we've talked about, Caleb Williams versus Rice, Quinn Ewers versus Louisiana Monroe. Utah is a nationally ranked defense, like good, number 17 in the country. Cam Rising played a good game up until that final pick, and no one's talking about it because we all saw what the potential in the future of Anthony Richardson can be. There's no quarterback in this class that has the ceiling and the upside of Anthony Richardson, and we've said that, right? Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are light years ahead of him as a passer, but none of those guys can change the game and dictate what defenses have to do like Anthony Richardson can at 6'4", 240 pounds. Now, what you want to see is him take this heightened platform that he has now, this heightened level of enthusiasm, and continue to build. He doesn't need to go out there next week and throw for 300 and rush for 150. Just make those little adjustments, man. I'm almost at the point now, man. I'm not even bullshitting you. He does this another 3-4 weeks. I don't care if he plays another down for the rest of the season. If something were to happen, knock on wood, because it's not, he's still going to be a first-round pick. You see it, man. Kyle Krabs, Draft Network. Shout out my guy, Kyle Krabs. He put out a mock draft today where the Atlanta Falcons are sitting at 2. You think they're going to pass on Anthony Richardson in favor of Marcus Mariota or fucking Desmond Ridder if Anthony Richardson is sitting there? Like, it's, you see it, man. Here it is. Timothy Richardson, absolute stud. If we gave out helmet stickers, he would definitely do it because
oh my God,
he came to the game and he delivered, right? Versus a top defense. He delivered with his arm, with his legs, and hopefully with the progression, he'll continue to get better and better as we move forward. I love it for him. A couple of other quarterbacks I want to mention real quick. Devin Leary, the North Carolina State quarterback. A lot of people talking about him being in the mix, maybe a late first rounder. I watched him versus ECU. I don't see it, Jay. I think he's fine college quarterback. I'm not buying into Devin Leary. The kid from Miami, Van Dyke. Again, they played Bethune
he didn't have to do much.
Cookman,
They
man.
ran for like 350 yards in that game.
Cookman. Like, he didn't have to do anything, so I don't know. We still got to see from Van Dyke. KJ Jefferson, 18 for 26, 223, 3 touchdowns. This was against 2 top 25 teams in the country. Cincinnati played a really good game. KJ Jefferson, 18 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown, 4 touchdowns. Damn near 300 total yards of offense for KJ Jefferson. Again, a player that I talked about on Wednesday. I think he's going to see a stock rise, man. You're talking about going through this pre-draft process. Don't be shocked if he works himself into probably a late day 1, early day 2 pick, man. I think KJ Jefferson in the SEC with the season that he had last year and the way that he's, again, QBR of 81, no interceptions. He takes care of the ball. That's however many games he's played, and he's only thrown 4 interceptions. Really, really encouraged by KJ Jefferson at Arkansas. I know you're a big KJ Jefferson fan as well.
Yeah, and it just comes back to what can he do, and it's the dual threat ability. It's almost like if you took a player like Anthony Richardson, reel him in a little bit, and make him a little bit less accurate. Because the biggest thing for me with Jefferson is that he's just been around a long time. You know, he learned from Felipe Franks, which may not seem like much, but he's another guy who he sat behind for a year. Now he's running the offense. People are like, oh, he lost Treylon Burks. How effective is he really going to be? He looks good again today. He's playing with transferred Jaden Hazelwood, Trey Knox had a phenomenal game. Like, there's guys that we don't really expect a lot from, but he's the one leading the offense now. It's not Treylon Burks. It's not somebody else. He's the one leading this team. And if they go somewhere and they have a pretty good season in the SEC, I do think there's a world where, like you said, he can maybe work into potential very late day one, kind of like we saw from Jalen Hurts, just not quite to the same extent.
Jalen Hurts,
but that's the route you're looking for here. Is Jalen Hurts was a day 2 pick. He might be a 3rd round or 2. Well, he's playing pretty good. Potential Heisman candidate with Lincoln Riley. Obviously, all those things went right for him. But if KJ can, be as good as he is, and I believe he lost, 10 to 15 pounds, trimmed down a little bit to a better playing weight, he could definitely be a guy who does work into back end first with the way the league is trending with these mobile quarterbacks.
One more young quarterback. Well, 2 more. One, Drake May, and I keep forgetting about him because he played way earlier than Saturday. You're talking about 2024. Move over Jackson Dart. Move over whomever the hell else. It's Caleb Williams. It's Quinn Ewers. Maybe J.J. McCarthy works his way in there once he takes over that job because he should be the starting quarterback at Michigan. But Drake May at 6'5", 225 pounds, mobile, massive arm. Love what I saw out of him. But I want to give a major fucking shout out tonight for Jackson State quarterback Shedeur Sanders. And that's somebody I talked about last year. Receipts are out there. He is a legitimate NFL prospect at quarterback. And I know Jackson State, he was a 4-star recruit, could have played at a lot of Power 5 conferences and chose to go to Jackson State. So when a lot of people are like, oh, was he actually really good? Or he was a 4-star prospect according to 24/7 Sports. But Shedeur Sanders, 29 for 33, 323, 5 touchdowns. He's not really a rushing quarterback. He's mobile, but it's not somebody that you're going to talk about being a mobile dual threat guy, right? You want to know who the highest or the last historically black university drafted quarterback was in the NFL?
Oh, I would never know. Who was it?
You know the name, but you probably just don't know the player. Tavares Jackson, 2nd-round pick.
Oh,
Tavares Jackson was a 2nd-round pick. And I went to look up his stats. I just wanted to see how good Tavares was when he was picked. And those of us who played, who are a little bit older, you remember the name Tavares Jackson. He wore that number 7, super athletic. We were like, this might be another Mike Vick, right? But no, he had some time as a starter. But Shedeur Sanders is legit, man. And what I think is going to happen, this is just my theory. I think he and Travis Hunter and all those guys are going to ball out this year, right? I wouldn't be shocked to see Shedeur transfer for 1 season and then go P5 and then just to boost his draft stock. But if he stays, I would love for him to stay at Jackson State and become a draft-eligible player. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Shedeur Sanders is really good, and it was awesome that they had that stage to themselves on Sunday when they played. He opened a lot of eyes up, and he's just carrying over all the awesome shit he did as a true freshman last year. He's 2024 eligible. Get Shedeur Sanders on your radar, point blank, period, Jay. Let's go to the running backs. As we talk running backs, Will Shipley just scored for Clemson, 7-0. Clemson, Jeff Sims is driving the ball. Will Shipley is a beast. I like him, man. He's a beast. But let's talk running backs, Jay. We had Big Hendo playing this weekend. We had Bijan Robinson. We had Braylon Allen, the next coming of Derrick Henry. All those guys look good. Little Donovan Edwards look good. I'll tell you who my most impressive running back was for me this past weekend, and I get so excited because 2 years ago, this player was the consensus RB2 in the class, and it wasn't even close. It was Bijan Robinson, and then you know who the next running back off the board was, Jay? Every time?
It was Big Tank.
It was Tank
Bigsby out of Auburn.
Big Tank Bigsby, and Tank balled out, Jay. He had 16 for 147 and 2. It was versus Mercer, right? So
yeah,
I get it. It's no competition. But everything that I had been told over the summer is he was clashing with the new coaching staff. We may never see another snap from Tank Bigsby in an Auburn uniform. And he also had a 55-yard run called back. So he would have had close to 200 rushing yards, averaged damn near 10 an attempt. He also caught one pass in the game, didn't go anywhere, but he looked slimmer. He looked faster. I'm watching him. I'm like, yo, this is the Tank that we fell in love with 2 years ago, man. Like, this is the guy. Here's the overall takeaway for the 2023 class. Hear me out, people. This is the biggest takeaway. Quarterbacks, very good. Get excited. Running backs, the absolute highlight of week 1. And the wide receivers were all awful. All of them were awful. All of the top-rated wide receivers in the 2023 class were awful. I went back to my rankings, and my top 3 receivers, Boutte, Quentin Johnston, and Jackson Smith-Njigba, they had like a combined 6 catches
probably
for
60
yards, right? Like, that was it, combined. And I get it, JSN got hurt. Boutte was checked out. We'll talk about Mr. Boutte in a minute. Quentin Johnston's got a very big problem with those TCU quarterbacks. And remember we talked about it, Jay, that I said that I don't care how good Quentin Johnston is, I don't think he's going to be able to overcome the TCU stigma in the fantasy community, man. Too many people feel burnt by Josh Doxson, burnt by Jalen Reagor, and now Quentin Johnston goes out there and catches 3 passes in the first game. Like, it's going to be tough for him, right? And that offense looks bad. But Tank Bigsby, man, at running back, he absolutely balled out, man. Jahmyr Gibbs, as advertised. On his 9 carries, he had damn near 100 yards, running the ball as advertised. And I'm glad he wasn't wearing number 13. He was wearing 13 all through the spring and practice. He got his number 1 back. Gibbs looked great. Bijan's stat line, I think he had 70 yards. He had a ridiculous cutback. You saw the agility.
In the hole, yeah.
In the hole, right? Just insane.
Oh, God.
He looked good. Braylon Allen, we talk about him, 2024 draft eligible. Deuce Vaughn fucking balled out. But my guy, man, we got to talk about him, Jay. My guy. Sean Tucker, baby. Sean Tucker, 21 for 98, 6 receptions, 85 yards, a very long touchdown in which he showed tremendous burst in speed. Sean Tucker looked big. He looked explosive. What are we doing with Sean Tucker, baby? I mean, Jay, I want to overreact and put him as RB2, but I'm not going to do anything like that. But my God, Sean Tucker, talk to him, man.
So I think this is where the size of Sean Tucker really works in his favor, right? I think that he does have that prototypical size that we don't expect from Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think that's the biggest problem is that if Tucker really shows this in the receiving game that we kind of didn't really expect to see, this could really vault him into that RB2 category. I believe I did. I think I took him at RB3 today in our mock draft. But at the end of the day, like as talented as I think Gibbs is, if Tucker can show a similar passing regimen to where he's competent and he can be used in the receiving game, I just think there's a world where I would take him. You know, the question is the draft capital and maybe some slight competition concerns because Gibbs is playing in the SEC now. But, you know, I was very surprised to see the utilization of Gibbs and not see a little bit more from him, especially early on. He didn't do a whole lot.
It was Utah State.
I hope we see more. But to see Bryce Young running and
I get it.
Didn't see a lot from Gibbs.
21 carries,
and to your point,
he had 21 carries for Tucker.
He's a horse.
Yeah,
he's a horse, man. That's what he is, and that's why I would want him at the next level because I know he's a horse, right? We still got to see that from Gibbs, and hopefully we do. But you know, I think of all the running backs here, Gibbs is the one we're kind of like, you know, he did what he's supposed to do against Utah State, but we didn't see anything flashy from him, at least so far as I can see.
He had a big run in that game. He had a big run. He had like a 50-something yard run. But yes, I mean, he only had 9 damn carries. They're not gonna blast him into the ground week 1, right? Like, let's just continue to talk running backs because if this were a super flex draft right now, it would be like Richardson, Young, Bijan, Stroud. I'm just naming the guys in the top, right? And then it'd be like a million running backs the way through round 1. Zach Evans, fucking just round of applause for Zach Evans, who literally carried Ole Miss because Jackson Dart did not look very good at all. And then they put in Luke Altmaier, and the first snap, he fumbles the ball. Zach Evans had 130 yards on the ground, had 2 receptions. I'm watching him, Jay, and I'm like, there's no way this dude is 215 pounds, damn near 220.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at him, but man, when you just talk about he just looks like an NFL running back, Zach Evans I'm just excited, right? Zach Evans looked great. We talked a little bit about Deuce Vaughn. Jalen Berger from Michigan State bounced back, man.
Yeah.
He had 130, 140 yards rushing. Berger from Michigan State. It wasn't all roses, wasn't all sunshine. Devon Achane, okay. And I've been a big Achane fan, but all we heard all offseason from everybody is how shitty Isaiah Spiller is and how great Devon Achane was, he did nothing
Didn't see
versus
it.
Sam Houston State. He looked awful. Texas A&M looked awful, first of all. The whole thing looked bad. Haynes King is terrible. The O-line looked bad. I always say Jimbo Fisher does the least with the most talent. He's got the most talented recruiting classes every year, and he just does the least with it. But A-Chain was supposed to be, I mean, that dude. I took the over 80 rushing yards. I'm over 21 fantasy score, and A-Chain shit the bed. He was little, got knocked down on first contact, saw none of that track speed. We know he has it, but when you're just talking about a running back, bro, this is my thing with A-Chain. He's not a running back like that. You're not going to turn around and hand Devon A-Chain the ball 25 times a game. That's not his game. They need to utilize him in space. He's a satellite plus back, and stop with Jamal Charles comps for A-Chain. And I have a lot of A-Chain. I love him, right? Use him as that complementary piece to a proper number one. I don't think he's that guy, man. Will Shipley's good. That's a cold white boy right there. He reminds me of Danny Woodhead, man.
White lightning, maybe.
He is good. Will Shipley is legit. But A-Chain, a little disappointing. Zach Charbonnet played very well. Charbonnet did play very, very well. I just, a senior running back, probably not going to test super well. I love Charbonnet. I wanted him to come out last year. Are there any other big-time, 23 eligible? Oh, we're tripping, man. Georgia, Kenny McIntosh. What are we doing?
Ooh.
Let's talk about Kenny McIntosh.
You want to talk about a riser in our Devy drafts, in our rookie drafts? Kenny McIntosh, I believe he was a third round pick, and he wasn't even on the board. We're doing 5 rounds, wasn't even on the board. Now all of a sudden he's rising up. I'm pretty sure he led the team in receiving as well when Darnell Washington wasn't running people over. It's just I'm curious to see what they do from a receiving standpoint, because we expect the receivers to catch the ball. Obviously,
Georgia, Jay, I'm telling you,
but just dump it all game. Just dump it with the Mac, and he was catching it outside. He just looked phenomenal.
He's a better version of James Cook, a much better version of James. They used him the same way. Kendall Milton was the Kendall Milton. They utilized, dude.
Are we gonna talk about Kendall Milton? How he looked a little slow.
I'm not in on Kendall Milton, but they use Kendall Milton in that Zeus White hammer role.
Yes.
And they use Kenny McIntosh in the James Cook passing, the passing running back role. The difference is Kenny McIntosh is 6'1", 215 pounds, right? And is an actual running back, playing running back that can catch the ball. Probably the biggest running back riser this weekend was Kenny McIntosh. And, a lot of people give on Mel Kiper some shit out there, but I think they had Kenny McIntosh as a top 5 running back prior to Saturday. I'm almost positive. A patron hit me up, patreon.com/allgas, and said, yo, Ray, Mel Kiper has Kenny McIntosh as a top 5 back. What's up? Like, man, ain't no damn top 5 back, but we'll see what he does. And he went out there, 9 receptions, 117 yards. I got that rushing touchdown in there late. He only had 4 carries, but Kenny McIntosh, big riser, man. Big riser for Kenny McIntosh. Is there anybody else that we missed? I'm looking down my list.
Did you watch Blake Corum at all? Did you see how he looked?
I did watch Blake Corum.
I thought he looked pretty good.
And
I thought he looked really good. Bit of a timeshare with Donovan Edwards, but again, against Colorado State, that's going to happen. But Michigan looked really good. I think that offensive line looked dominant. I'm hoping to see Corum more of a featured role this year, because I think he did look really good. But splitting time with Donovan Edwards, I think both those guys are going to eat for this offense this year.
He did. He looked very good. Lou Nichols from Central Michigan, he played Thursday again, just a workhorse. Lou Nichols is his name. That should be rising. I think he's going to be what everybody wants Tyrion Davis-Price to be. There goes Lou. It's Lou Nichols, and Lou Nichols is better than TDP. You know what I'm saying? Let's get to the wide receivers, Jay. Let's get into it. Mr. Kayshon Boutte. Kayshon Boutte broke his ankle last year, and then it was just radio silence. We didn't know if it was an ankle, if it was an Achilles. There were reports that he wanted very badly to transfer out of LSU once former Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly accepted the LSU job and did that fake-ass Cajun accent at the basketball game. That's when all the brothers was like, I'm out of here. This fake guy doing this fake Cajun Louisiana accent. I'm a Tiger, all that other bullshit he was talking about. Kayshon wanted to leave. He ends up staying. They give him the number 7 jersey. He goes out there, and I said it second quarter, Jay. We were in the Discord, and I'm like, he's not even trying, bro. Like, he looks disinterested. Doesn't look like he really wants to be out there. He went out there. He dropped 2 or 3 passes, I think, didn't turn around for one. Just was non-existent in the offense. It didn't look like they tried to get him the ball. Malik Neighbors muffed 2 punts, and he still looked good at receiver. Boutte, I don't know what he was doing out there. But after the game, Malik Neighbors and Kayshon Boutte scrubbed their whole Instagram. LSU gone. Nothing LSU related. Report comes out later that was just them going 0 dark 30. They want to avoid the noise. And everything that I've read was Kayshon Boutte was in film session today. So he's still there. I see a lot of people praising Jaden Daniels. Like, it was a good comeback, right? Like, he clawed their way back in, but he was awful for the first 2.5 quarters of that game, man.
Sure.
He was not good. And I don't know if that's Brian Kelly's offense. I don't know if Boutte couldn't get off. I don't know what was happening. It just looked like he was disinterested the whole time. I'm sitting back watching that, and I'm like, he's half-assing routes. He didn't even look for the ball on the end zone on one play.
And he hit him right in the chest, yeah.
So
the biggest thing here, Ray, and I don't want to put it all on Jaden Daniels, because while he was awful, so was that offensive line. They got destroyed the whole game, right? And I think that's a big part here is if you're Kayshon Boutte and you're really the only receiver of note on your team and you're getting bracketed by the other team, so you're really not going to get thrown the ball at all. The offensive line is terrible. Your quarterback's he's basically a one read and run kind of guy at this point. We saw him try and do a few things, and they critiqued the hell out of him when he took the ball down to run and then tried to bring it back up to pass and was throwing ducks all over the place. It was bad. And, credit to LSU, I guess, a little bit for coming back, but it's going to be rough for Boutte all year. And this is, we can talk about him and Quentin Johnston kind of together in some respect, because they're both playing on terrible offenses. They're both going to be on bad teams. They will have a game or two, but week to week, you can't expect their stock to do a ton. You're going to have to kind of wait to see what they do at the combine next to their peers when they're not being evaluated based off what you see on the field. Because we talked about JSN and what he could do to raise his stock and be wide receiver one. Those two guys that are next to him aren't going to do a ton. They'll have their game here or there, but it's looking like it's going to be really bad for them overall. And I think to a lot of people's point is that Boutte did look disinterested. And it's not something you want to see, but I can understand the frustration of why he's going through this, and he wanted to transfer and they convinced him to stay. And this is ultimately the product they put on the field. I would be pissed off too, man. Like, let's just be real. I'd be pissed off too. Yeah, man. But you can't, if you're out there on the field, you can't put that on wax. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be. If you want to be wide receiver one, that's something you can't. I mean, if maybe it'll be fine. It'll work out, but. If I had that, DJU's playing well finally versus an inferior Georgia Tech. Good job, DJU. Like, this is what he should have come out and done this, right? I'm happy for DJU, but, like, come on, baby. Let's go, DJU. Pick it up. He did throw a nice touchdown pass to Bo Collins. Matthew says it right here. Boutte's facial expression said it all. He didn't seem like it. Jay, did I not say that last night? I was like, I don't care about the drop passes. I care about the fact that he looked disinterested, right? Like, he just didn't want to play. If I had to ask you right now, let me just give you the top consensus kind of 4 receivers. It's Boutte, Njigba, Addison, Quentin Johnston. Wherever you had them ranked going into week 1, would you move any of those guys going into week 2? Because I'm not. I'm not moving any of those guys. I don't think I'd move them, but I mean, I think it's very easy to make the case for Jaxon Smith-Njigba, right? He's a guy who got hurt and was begging to go in the game versus a guy who was playing in the game and look disinterested, right? And again, I'm not trying to over character assassinate all these things, but these guys are close, right? And NFL evaluators are going to be seeing all these things, and they may be like, look, there's a reason why they may take JSN over Boutte, and maybe that reason is just what they see on the field, right? And the mannerisms, and are they coachable, and blah, 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 and it's not fair. Right. But again, if you're going to put that out there, you're going to be evaluated and criticized for it, right? And that's just what's going to happen at the end of the day. I want to talk about a kid real quick, Bryce Ford Wheaton, out of West Virginia. Holy hell, man. I had no clue who he was until the game versus Pitt. And let me just say this about Pitt, man. Keaton Slovis, I don't know how we ever thought he was going to be somebody very good, because he's not very good. Slovis is not very good. JT Daniels is not very good. But Bryce Ford Wheaton, man, 6'3", 215, bro. 9 for 97, 2 touchdowns. He was catching the ball all over the place. Now, again, West Virginia, you get those shades of Kevin White, Tavon Austin. You start thinking, like, I don't know. But he looked good, man. He's a junior, redshirt junior, so it's his 4th season. Bryce Ford Wheaton, wanted to give him a shout-out, honorable mention. Marvin Mims, he had a couple of big catches for Oklahoma. Yeah. He and Dylan Gabriel will be good. Marvin Mims is going to be
like a second round pick, and he's just going to have a career in the league, right? He's never going to be some game changer for fantasy. Just going to be a very good wide receiver. Jermaine Burton, 2 touchdowns, didn't have to do a ton versus Utah State. Parker Washington, very unimpressed by Parker Washington's debut for Penn State. I've got him in a tier with Mims, with Jaden Reed. Not impressed, man. Not impressed. I look at some other players that I have in this tier. Cedric Tillman, he is in the database as a watch list player this week. Big time Cedric Tillman fan. 6'3", 215 pounds, can run. Him and Hendon Hooker are going to play very well for Tennessee this fall. He is on the watch list this week. I want to see Jaden Reed do something, all right? I hyped him up. Can't go out there after I hype you up and give me 2 receptions, right? Jaden Reed, let's get it together. Jacob Cowing, the transfer, man, goes to Arizona and does the Justin Jefferson 3 first-half touchdowns with Delora, the transfer from Washington State. Jacob Cowing looked good, man. Technician, speed. I think he's going to be a riser, man. I got him in a tier with Lavelle Davis, the big guy out of Virginia, Nathaniel Dell, the kind of smaller wide receiver out of Houston, Bryce Ford Wheaton, all in that same tier. Really impressed with those guys. Kayshon Boutte, if I had to give him a grade for last night, he probably would have gotten an F, if I'm being real. Like, he just... just an F. Like, there was nothing positive outside the fact that he looked bigger. Like, he looked a little bigger. Maybe it's that 7 jersey. He looked thick, right? I got him at 180 in my database, and he looked closer to like 190 something.
Probably bigger than that, yeah.
Yeah, he's a lot bigger than that. Jazz saying he got hurt, man. What's the injury? Do we know what the injury was?
We don't really know. So, Ray, if you missed it, he kind of got rolled up on. So he was being tackled by one guy, and then another guy kind of tackled him as well, hit him hard. So it could be a bit of a knee sprain, could be an ankle. It's a lower body for sure. But, I don't think the extent of the injury has been released yet. He did actually go back out there and try to run routes, but ultimately he couldn't quite get it going. So we'll see what happens this week for him. Hopefully he's back this week, but again, who knows with JSN, and hopefully he'll be okay. But I mean, when he was playing, he looked good. It's just, again, is how do they operate this offense with defenses probably running too high against them. But I do want to talk about Jacob Cohen because I think he will be a massive riser. If people haven't seen his PFF profile from last season, I believe he was the second highest rated wide receiver in PFF grades behind Jack Smith-Njigba. So again, it's not just that he's a transfer who had a good first game. And yes, I believe it was San Diego State he played against. So no competition there. But a guy who went to UTSA, balled out last season, transferred to a Power 5 school, balled out in his first game. Like, this is a guy you wanted to pay attention to because the metrics were there initially last season. He's going to a place where he can get more exposure. If he continues to carry on this train, we could see a guy who is a massive riser and is a potential, second, third round pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah, man. And so it's reported knee hamstring, strained hammy. Ugh.
That's not good.
Aren't those the things that linger? Aren't the hammies
soft tissue, man? Soft tissue. You don't want those hamstring injuries because
Jay, I want to go to the Big Ten real quick because the Big Ten is loaded with some potential rising wide receivers, and we're not going to go in depth with all of them. But Trey Palmer from Nebraska, very impressed with Trey Palmer, right? Raheem Jarrett, we know he had the season-ending injury a year ago. He came back 6 for 110. Raheem Jarrett, I'm pretty, he's smooth, man. I want to say Diggs because he's just out there, but he's not Diggs. But he played at Maryland. But very good for Raheem Jarrett. Excited about him. Also, I want to touch on, we did not talk about him from the running back perspective, but everybody write the name down right now, and he's on the watch list for this week. I'm looking in the database. He's on the watch list. He's going to be, I'm trying to think of a comparison NFL-wise, but Chase Brown out of Illinois, excuse me, there's no S on it, Illinois. Chase Brown, sign me up, man. Back-to-back weeks, over 150 rushing yards at 36 carries. 36 carries for 199. And he averaged 5.5 yards an attempt. So it wasn't like he wasn't like he just
he's not just grinding
to
out
200
there,
yards, right? And this is coming off, I believe he had like 150-something in the first week of the season. Chase Brown, put the name on the radar, like square business. Put Chase Brown's name on the watch list radar. Zay Flowers as well from Boston College. He's a guy that at first I was really like, man, is this another Rondale Moore type? And you see the number 4 and you start doing lazy comps. Yeah. But he's 5'10", 5'11", 175 pounds, 10 receptions. I think he got targeted like 16 times by Phil Dracovic. Zay Flowers, another wide receiver riser. It just goes back to the whole thing, like, as I'm evolving in this game of Dynasty Fantasy Football, like, I understand how overvalued we place this premium on wide receivers because we're chasing Jefferson, we're chasing Chase, and we probably shouldn't do that. When if you don't draft Jordan Addison, who had, I think he had 50 yards, 2 short touchdowns.
2 touchdowns, yeah.
He looked good. He looked like Jordan Addison. He had 2 touchdowns. Awesome. That's what Jordan Addison should do versus Rice. But if you don't get Jordan Addison, like, you can get a Raheem Jarrett. You can get a Zay Flowers. You can get somebody, man. You're not getting Sean Tucker in the second. You're not getting Tank Bigsby in the second or third round, right? Like, I'm just looking at the depth of the wide receiver class in 2023, Jay, and I'm just like, bro, like, if I miss out on one of the top guys, I want Boutte. He's my top-rated receiver, but I'm not about to spend the 104 on Jackson Smith-Njigba, man. Like, I'm just not going to do it, Jay. Like, I want the quarterbacks and I want these running backs. Like, I'm just not going to do it. And I'm sure there are a couple of other receivers that we failed to mention. Aniyah Smith had a really good game for A&M. Excited to see him used like a receiver. Aniyah Smith, stock up for Aniyah Smith. Josh Downs, we just got it. The issue with Downs, he's always banged up. There's always something with Josh Downs, man. It's always something, always banged up. Get Josh Downs back on the field playing with Drake, man. Things should look good. Tight ends, really quickly, we're not going to spend a ton of time on Devy tight ends or 2023 eligible tight ends or 24 eligible tight ends. Michael Mayer, 5 catches, 30 yards, didn't do anything, but he looked like Michael Mayer. I know everyone's excited about Darnell Washington. He had that 1 reception. Like, I think he had 2 in that game, but he had the 1 kind of highlight reception. He's a massive, massive tight end. The one that I'm really excited about is Ja'Tavion Sanders. He was the number 1 rated athlete coming out of high school, and a lot of people thought that the Texas coach, what's his name, Sark, was going to put him on defense, but he's a tight end now. I think he had 80-something yards and a touchdown. Ja'Tavion Sanders is next up. I think he's going to be their best tight end prospect since they had Jermichael Finley a long time ago. A lot of y'all probably don't even know who Jermichael Finley is, but Ja'Tavion Sanders out of Texas, very, very good tight end prospect. Jaheim Bell, they still won't throw it to him. They just want to hand it to him and run the ball with Jaheim Bell. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Any tight ends that stood out to you?
No, I mean, outside of Brock Bowers, I mean, not 2023,
he didn't even do much of anything. Good. And Bowers didn't even do much of anything.
There's that one dig route, right, that he ran where he was just running people over all over the field. But yeah, Darnell Washington, it's impossible to miss that guy. Eric Gilbert, of course, didn't play in that game. That's another thing to point out. He didn't play. I believe he was in a car accident.
I didn't know.
I think he was in a car accident or something. I think that's I think Brooding said that in the chat. Yeah, he was in a car accident or something. It wasn't serious, but they held him out, and so obviously Darnell Washington got a lot of snaps. Brock Bowers played a lot. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you wanted to touch on Xavier Hutchinson, the wide receiver out of Iowa State. He looked really good. He did. Right? 8 receptions, 128 yards, 3 touchdowns. Competition doesn't really matter, right? Senior wide receiver, but 6'3", 205. And it's the Battle of Iowa this coming week. So if he performs well in that game, he could be a guy who, again, could rise a little bit, a guy that you maybe get in the 3rd round, 4th round. Again, he's huge, right? Iowa State's known for those big receivers. Hopefully he can be more the Allen Lazard and not the name is escaping me now, the bust of the 2nd round a few years ago who went to Arizona.
Hakeem Butler.
That's the name, Hakeem Butler. More Allen Lazard and less Hakeem Butler is what we're hoping for out of Xavier Hutchinson if we're making school comps overall. But he did look really good out there.
All right, next weekend if there was anybody that we forgot to get on, I mean, I tried to watch a lot. I mean, my Saturdays are consumed. I got iPads, TVs, laptops. It was in freaking Spanish. I couldn't understand anything that was going on, but I'm watching it, right? It was a good weekend,
who did ball out, though, we didn't talk about was Spencer Sanders. Spencer Sanders had a phenomenal game.
He looked good, man.
I know it's Central Michigan, but 400 yards and 50 on the ground. Yeah. 6 touchdowns.
He looked good. I don't know about NFL, but Spencer Sanders looked good. Week 2, there's a lot of weak-ass games this week. There's some big dogs playing. Alabama, Texas, that's the one that you want to see, right? Arkansas, South Carolina, Spencer Rattler, KJ Jefferson, very good game there. What else do we have on tap for next weekend? Texas A&M, Appalachian State should be good. Pitt versus Tennessee, you get to see Cedric Tillman. Watch that game. That should be a very good game. I like that one. Georgia will roll Samford, stay away. Houston, Texas Tech, Tyler Shaw's out a couple of weeks. Cal's got 2 good players, man. Jeremiah Hunter and Jaden Ott. Make sure you check out those 2 players, but I'm not watching UNLV versus Cal. Not happening. Not wasting time doing that. What else do we have this weekend that y'all need to tap into? The big one, Kentucky versus Florida, in my opinion. I mean, Will Levis versus Anthony Richardson. If you don't have a hard on for that one, something's wrong with you, right? Syracuse,
and then USC
UConn,
Stanford, right? Was that the one?
Yeah, USC Stanford is the night game. So you got to tap in. EJ Smith. Did not talk about EJ Smith. He is a breakout candidate in my database. He is the son of Hall of Fame running back Emmitt Smith. Looked phenomenal for Stanford. USC's defense is bad, but the offense should be fun. So that will be a nice test for Caleb Williams versus Stanford. Xavier Valade from Arizona State. He is on the watch list. Just watch Xavier Valade, running back from Arizona State. You want to tap into that matchup. Baylor versus BYU. We'll see how that one plays out. Mississippi State versus Arizona should be a fun, high-scoring affair as well.
Talking about overs.
Take the over in that one, man. Take the over. Michigan gets Hawaii. I don't really care about that one. But just kind of a Tank Bigsby, San Jose State. He should run through those guys. But overall, like I said, the big takeaway, man, Tank Bigsby, Sean Tucker, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Evans. Those are your 5 2023 running backs, and they probably all 5 should be drafted over any wide receiver not named Kayshon Boutte. Somewhere in that mix. Boutte's still my one, man. I'm not wavering. He just needs to get it together, man. He just needs to get it together. Any final takeaways from you? Oh, shout out to Mo Ibrahim. He had a good game. Had 130-something yards, good. Cody, 2 touchdowns.
In the first half, yeah.
Yeah, and
coming off the Achilles, basically 12 monmonths.
Yeah. Do you actually? I think you actually miss USC completely. I didn't miss.
That was intentional.
Yeah. I mean, they played Rice. The defense looked bad. It was shaky early, and that's Alex Grinch's defense is going to be bend but don't break. You're just going to have to score 40 points to beat USC. I'm a USC fan. You see all the shit back here. I'm very critical of my squad, so it was fine. They did what they were.
Caleb Williams looked really good though.
Caleb was they did what they were supposed to do.
But again, he's playing in the system that he's always known. On top of that, they can say he's a transfer, but he's really not, right? He's playing in the system he's always known. But he did look really good, in my opinion. I expected a lot because Caleb Williams he's that dude right now in 24. But he did look pretty good. I just hope to see a little more out of Addison in more important games. But to your point, we'll see what happens against Stanford. But they did look pretty good in that game.
Cody, I brought up Jaheim Bell and why South Carolina just refuses to throw him the ball. Like, I just don't get it. They want to give him more rush attempts than passes. I just don't get it, man. I truly don't get it, Cody. Help me understand. What are they doing? Why would you not throw to Jaheim Bell 10 times a game? And they just want to – I don't get it, man. Help me, Cody. Help me help the people. Golly, man. Dylan Gabriel looked good. Yes. Yeah, I think it was a good weekend, man. Those running backs in 2023 look phenomenal. We talked about sort of the 5 high-tier players with Bijan Robinson being at the top of that class. And I think after Bijan, honestly, Jay, I think you can make an argument for Tucker, for Bigsby, for Gibbs. Like, I think you can make that argument. I don't know if there's any clear cut to. That's what we're trying to figure out. Is Jahmyr Gibbs actually 5'10", 200 plus pounds, right? Like, where's Sean Tucker come at? We know Tank is going to be big. We know Zach Evans is going to have the size. So it's going to be interesting to follow all of those guys. The quarterbacks, if you had to ask me right now where I would rank them, I mean, I
think my question to you is Stroud. Is Stroud is the one for me that I'm like, does he still need to be at 1 or 2? That's my question to you and how you feel about them. Like, you go ahead to give your rankings, but I really want your take on Stroud.
I don't know. I think I want to see it play out, man. I think it's a log. I think it's the race for QB1 has officially started because Richardson, I think the world, for the most part, a lot of people knew the name, but I don't think they ever truly just watched Anthony Richardson play because you couldn't really gauge when he was going to play because they were rotating him and Emory Jones and nobody was watching Florida. So I think 80% of people got their first true glimpse of Anthony Richardson a couple of days ago. And we kind of were we just did a film breakdown over on the Draft Network, me and Damian Parson, about Anthony Richardson and what we want to see from him this season. I don't think there is a 1, Jay. I don't think there is a 1. I think there's a cluster of really good quarterbacks at the top, and I'm talking about from a fantasy perspective and from an NFL. It's toolsy, man. You look at the Josh Allens of the world. You look at those tools, and you're like, man, as good as Bryce Young is, you know what?
So that's the thing, right?
What
Bryce Young doesn't have the tools, but
what Bryce Young can't do is grow 4 inches and put on 50 more pounds. It's just not going to happen. He's not going to be 6'4", 240 pounds ever. He's 6 foot barely. 190 pounds. This is what they have him listed at. CJ Stroud, much bigger, but he's a mobile quarterback, but he's not gonna scare anybody with his legs.
No.
You're banking on him to just be a surgeon from the pocket, and I don't know if he's that. Will Levis, another one of those toolsy guys. Everything you're looking for. 6'3", athletic, cannon of an arm, but can he progress as a thrower, right? Can he do that? I think I don't know who the one is, but I'm excited to watch it play out and just watch the maturation throughout the season. And again, nobody starts that was a tough test for Stroud and for Anthony Richardson. They had by far the two most difficult tasks this weekend. Both of them passed their test. Anthony Richardson just showed a little bit of that thing, that special thing that makes me so excited. And I just think it's one big cluster, man. Very good quarterback class. This is much different than Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, Malik. Like those guys wouldn't even be in this conversation right now with Stroud, Young, Levis, or Bryce or Bryce Young, man. Not even the same stratosphere, man. Shout out Marshawn Lloyd, who got on the field too. I just keep remembering names of players like, oh yeah, Marshawn Lloyd got on the field, scored a touchdown. Good to see that.
Trevor Etienne over Travis Etienne now in the Debbie Ring
better than Etienne.
True freshman, man, getting on the field is if him and Anthony Richardson could be very dynamic and a guy you want to look out for in some of those C2C leagues. He was not projected. I actually took him in our C2C league in the rookie draft, and he was not expected to play at all. Yeah. But he looked explosive. He looked like an Etienne. Yeah, right? He looked like an Etienne, brother.
Looked like an Etienne. All right, people. Been here for an hour. GQ is tired. We're probably going to have to do this again sometime tomorrow, Wednesday night. I think we're actually going to do a Thursday wake-up show for the kickoff of the NFL season. So we'll probably do a show on Thursday morning. Appreciate everybody tapping in here this evening. We did have one super chat. Let's get to it real quick. Dotson or Treylon, half PPR redraft? Treylon. Easy.
Yeah, Treylon.
Easy.
Yeah.
Treylon Burks.
For sure.
Easy one. Appreciate the love, man. Jay, way to hold down the show without me, but we're back, man. The NFL is here. College football is here.
Glad to have you back.
Good to be back, big dog. And good to see everybody in the stream tonight. Jasmine, it's good to see you, man. Good to see you, my girl. If you can ever wake up, join us live. Jay Peters in the building. Jimbo's there. Can y'all read me a bedtime story? Maybe
Ray, you got any in the office?
I don't have any. I've got a book by The Art of Respect by Jay Prince. You guys don't want to read that, trust me. But I appreciate everybody tapping in. Y'all enjoy your Monday night. Watch the rest of this pathetic game. And we'll be back sometime either Wednesday or Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday. Y'all just subscribe to the channel. We got you covered, man. Football is back. Enjoy. We out of this thing. Peace.